Hey, what's up, YouTube? Well, it's time to post a little video about the old Presonus here, the CS18AI control surface. This is an incredible piece. That's all I got to say about it. Incorporates with my RM32AI mixer. It also incorporates with Studio Live or Studio One here. Studio One, yeah. But today, what I want to talk about, see if I can maybe go over a little bit of these things, is the CS18 is nothing more than a control surface for either the RM16AI or the RM32AI, which is like the one I've got. But it's nothing more than a control surface. It has built-in AVB, which is AVB is the audio video bridge protocol that allows sound to be transmitted over Ethernet, audio and video signals to be transmitted over Ethernet over extreme long distances, up to 300 feet or so. That's basically the limitation of Ethernet transmission lengths. So AVB operates over that. So you don't have a snake essentially going from this back to your stage box. AVB is great. It's got some peculiarities to it. I can run directly out of this box or out of the control surface directly into my RM32AI and still have full AVB capability. But the proper way of really taking advantage of all of the features that the Presonus Studio Live setup actually has, you need to run it with an AVB switch. You can still use this directly wired into the RM32 and have full AVB capability. You can still run a wireless network adapter or a wireless access point and run your individual monitor mixes off your wireless devices. You can still control your monitor mix wirelessly. So, and that's done through the wireless dongle on the front of the RM32 and the connection between the RM32 and the wireless access point to connect those wireless devices into it. There is no AVB capability between that wireless dongle and the wireless devices that connect into it. It doesn't work that way. But the CS18 has full AVB capability, and what that allows you to do is, I don't know, you can't see it necessarily, but there's a headphone jack right there. There's two XLR inputs on the back, which you can use for talkback or anything like that. But it allows for full audio transmission between the control surface and the rack mixer, which is typically left on the stage instead of front of house now. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of what this thing kind of does. I mean, it's got full motorized faders. I can switch between the DAW, which is actually the computer program, which is this dude here, which is DAW. But basically, I've got full motorized faders. This completely coincides with this here. Any adjustments that I make on my CS18 will show up here. I'm going to zoom into a channel here. I'm going to go to the snare. Notice I am not. Let's come over here. We're going to move the snare. Notice it's moving on the CS8 or on the DAW on the Studio One program here. Now I'm moving this. Let's get back over to my snare here. You can see it's labeled snare. This dude right there. I'll come down to, it's going to be channel 9. Down to channel 9, and it will move the software fader in the DAW program, which is Studio One. So, well, excuse my wife, she's kind of chewing on the dog a little bit. She's letting him know what for, because he obviously did something wrong. So, the CS18 ties in with Studio One, right? So Studio One is a mixing program offered by Presonus. It ties completely into the RM32 mixer. It accesses the tracks or the channel makeup on the RM32 via Firewire. So if I come in here, I'm going to come over and we're going to go to the song. I am remoted into my actual laptop that's plugged into the RM32. So we're going to come over here, go to song. We're going to go to song setup. We'll come down here to options. Come down here to options. And go to general. Let's see, external devices, this UCnet remote. So that is the control surface. That's the CS18. It's connected wirelessly, actually. I mean, the CS18 has a wireless dongle on the back of it, and I can connect into my wireless network, control the DAW program completely wirelessly. The RM32 is actually in my den right now, but I don't have it connected physically to the CS18. There are no wires. It's strictly just a wireless dongle right back here. And it completely controls everything, which is frankly pretty cool. So in order to set that up, what you do is you hit the UCnet button. And you can see here I've got software control. Ooh, it just died on me a little bit. That was interesting. Huh. Well, isn't that just peculiar? My wireless network just dropped. Well, let's see what it does when I bring it back up. Oh, the perils of technology. So, okay. While this is booting up, I'll explain a little bit more about the Studio One. So Studio One, what it does is you can utilize it as a mixing apparatus or program, but for me, I mean, you've got full record capabilities on each one of the tracks. But for me, what I wanted to know was whether or not you could use the plug-in capability built into Studio One, the Studio One program. There we go. It looks like it's back up. Okay, to utilize the plug-in capability in Studio One to see if I could utilize that in a live scenario, to where the input comes from the RM32, travels over FireWire, gets processed by the Studio One program, and then the resultant of that gets fed back via FireWire back into the input that it came from, processed. So essentially what you can do is you can utilize all of the effects that you have available via this DAW program here, which is essentially a processing suite, if you want to look at it that way. What I can do is I want to bring this up a little bit. Now this is from a recording that we did back in 2016 over at the Papa Top in Guyman, Oklahoma. I just used some basic recording tracks, some songs, and set up some track information that has effects, EQ, compressor, gates, that kind of thing built onto each track. Now the cool thing is I can come in here now with the UC Surface. I can hit. Let's see if we're at someplace I can. I'm going to select an area up here that I know will have information. But I come over here and hit play, and I get output fed directly back to my front of house mixer from the Studio One application. Now what's cool about it is I've got full RTA. I've got full RTA capability, all of that built into Studio One. So if, say for example, I wanted to come over here and take a look at my main out here to see what the spectrum's doing, I can bring this up and I get a full look at the final mix as it's being presented to the front of house, which is pretty badass in my opinion. So what you can do is you can then take any track that you've got. Say I'm gonna take Steve's guitar track here. I'm gonna bring up his effects. So what we've got is we've got an EQ, a compressor, on the insert side, but then on the send side I've also got an effects setup that does amp modeling, cabinet modeling, but then I can, if I need to boost his signal a little bit, I can, or manipulate it just a hair to either richen it up, but this is all done through the send side of the mixing console. So then I can blend the altered signal in with his original mix and get something that sounds rich and full that's going out to the front of house, which honestly this is a pretty cool setup. So the way that you do this is you have to have of course your RM16 or your RM32 hooked up via FireWire. It reads the tracks via that FireWire channel, or the FireWire stream over to it, and then what you can do is you can map those inputs and outputs from, like here, come in here, it's from input 8 or input 7 or input whatever, and then back out to that same input. So it takes the signal from the input, manipulates it, in the software here, and then feeds that manipulated signal right back into the mixer. So the signal that you get on your Studio Live here gives you the ability to mix it just like you would normally, but it's now a full rendered, if you want to call it that, audio signal coming from the Studio One processing package here. So this really gives you a whole slew of capabilities when it comes to your live show, because now you have not only the basic stuff that your CS18 and RM32. I keep saying CS18 because realistically it's not even the CS18. It's just an interface to get to all the features of the RM32. But everything, you've got a basic feature pack built into your RM32, which, if I was to take channel 16 here, I'm going to take channel 16, I'm going to select it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to edit the EQ. So the EQ is pretty much, you can manipulate that, you can increase it or whatever. You can turn all this stuff on to where your EQ settings, you can increase your curve here. Okay, you can manipulate that, but I don't want to do it there. Now this is on a blank channel, which is good because I don't want to have to. This channel 16, I don't have anything going into it. But you've got a basic feature pack, compressor, limiter, gate, all built into the RM32. And you can edit all of that stuff here, or you can do it through Studio UC. You can do UC Surface, which is the touchscreen interface, which is great for tablets and stuff like that. And even on a large touchscreen monitor, which is the way I was using it before, it was okay. But I am a very tactile person. I like the feel of sliders versus not having them on a virtual slider. It's just weird to me. But these tracks, even though they're being played, are being fed right back into the mixer over the FireWire. They're being processed on the laptop through here, through Studio One, and then being dumped right back into the mixer as a modified signal. Incredible setup. It's got its quirks, I will admit. I've still got quite a bit of learning to do as far as the best way of doing it. I still haven't tried it with full AVB yet. Haven't done that yet. I'll probably gain a lot of stability. The wireless network just sometimes is quirky. Sometimes doesn't work that well. I don't know, what do we got here? So we got input. I'm not really sure what that is. That's the 16-inch tom. Okay. But RM32, CS18AI, plus the Studio One for your mixing plant or your effects plant. You've got a lot of versatility within the digital software package to, like I said, utilize those custom effects or the really higher end plugins that you can purchase. You can add those in, whatever. Studio One will accept them. But I do like the fact that, I can pre-mix a show or get my sound effects just the way I want them, and then use those same presets when I go to run a live show, which is pretty awesome. So get it sounding the way I want, and then, you know, have that same or very, very close sound when we're doing a live show. But, you know, it kind of depends on venue and whatnot. But anyway, well, I have to apologize for the fish tank sound in the background. I'm a little low on water. But yeah, this whole setup using Studio One, RM32, and the CS18AI, and the UC Surface, the whole suite of tools. If you can utilize that and you make it work, it really is beneficial. So, again, if you guys got questions on this, I don't know that there's a full. I might go into some more detail. I know this is starting to. We're at 20 minutes right now. I might go into some more detail on the proper way to configure. Oh hell, screw it. We'll do it this way. So we're okay. On the way to configure to get it to where you can pull tracks from your RM32 into Studio One and then back out to the RM32. It's pretty simple. So we're going to go to song setup. We're going to go down to, well, you can do it here. If you're taking a blank one, a blank setup, you have to add these inputs in. Now, if it's you can use a template that has pre-built a very, very raw pre-built setup. It has all the track, your channels mapped out properly, all 32 of them. But if you take an existing song, now what I've done is I've taken an existing example song and modified it heavily to suit my own liking. But they didn't have it set up this way, so you have to go in and you have to add in mono channels, not stereo, mono. And what it'll do is, as soon as you add in the first mono channel and the second, third, fourth, so on and so forth, it will associate the newly added channel with whatever Studio Live input channel it needs to be associated with. Now, what you can do is you can add in more channels. Some of them will become virtual, I guess, and have them associated with another channel. So you can actually take the input of one and map that input to channel to channel 2 if you'd like. That way, I don't know why you would do that, but you can. Now, that's the input side. Now the output side, actually that's the outputs. The input side looks an awful lot like it. So you've got input 1 correlates to Studio Live channel 1. The outputs are the same here, because what you want to do is you want to take the output of Studio Live, or the output from your Studio One, which is going to be input 1, and you want that fed back into the Studio Live channel 1. You do that all the way down, but the last two that you do are, actually it's the main out, should be your those two there, the Studio Live, that is, oh geez, the 2-track right and left. You want those fed out to your main out. So that's the only thing that you really have to do. Now, once you get that inputs and outputs mapped properly, you should be good to go. Because then, if you've done everything correctly, you will start seeing input signal levels showing up on whatever control surface you're using, whether it be the UC Surface or the CS18 or whatever tablet or whatever. If you've done everything correctly, you'll see that. Now, Um, you can take a pre-existing recording that you've done in either use Studio Live or Studio One or Capture, or it's a software program called Capture. It's included with, I think it's even free with Presonus stuff. But you can record through Capture, or you can record through Studio One. And you can actually use those tracks to basically get a show 75% ready for live setup if the band's not there or whatever. So that's essentially what I'm doing here, is I'm taking a pre-existing show that I've recorded, playing it back through the system, and utilizing that to get a very, very rough mix. Now when the band gets there, I'll fine-tune it a little bit, but all things being equal, not a whole lot of work should be done once this rough outline has been set. So there's monstrous benefits to having a setup like this. Not only are you utilizing the effects within and the settings within Studio One for processing of the signal, but you're also having the capability of recording a live show. So anyway, I'm going to stop that and kind of cut it off here, and probably continue on with another video later on, getting in a little bit more in depth with everything that this software package will do for bands or whatever. But anyway, everybody have a blessed weekend, and we'll catch you later. Peace.